Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
Papua New Guinea authorities are talking about using force to move these men out. Will Australia support that?
Well, our preference, very strong preference, is that people move of their own accord, and we've seen over the course of the last few days now in excess of 100 people that have taken a decision to move out. But as Annie points out, we've got a group of core agitators, of organisers, who I think will try and provide some sort of scene where there is a confrontation with police. They'll do that because they want that footage broadcast back here. Ultimately, as we know, they want to come to Australia, and we've been very clear that we're not going to allow people to settle in Australia.
But is it getting to the stage where force is inevitable?
Well, I hope not. Just to take a step back, I mean, there's some images around today of some of the accommodation up on Manus. Can I provide an assurance that, firstly, people have done a great deal of damage, it seems to me, by some of the photos. They've trashed the accommodation, and as was pointed out, there's new accommodation, purpose-built. It's been open for a couple of years. People have known for months that this end date was coming up, and really the conditions that we see in the photographs today don't resemble at all the conditions in which people have been living over a long period of time.
But you don't doubt that those are the conditions they're in. The conditions aren't staged, are they?
So let's just look at the facts here, Neil. So this is like having a tenant in a house. You've built a new house for the tenant, and you've said, we want you to move in 6 months' time into the new house because we're going to demolish the old house. We're cutting off water and power to the old house, and we're paying for you to go to the new house. We're going to provide you with meals, with all of the security and medical needs you could need. And people are saying, well, no, I'm not going to leave the old house. I'm going to stay here, trash the place, and then put images out of that. That's what's happened here.
But it must still be dangerous for them, though.
Well, it is, and this is why we've run buses, we've provided information, and as I say, 100 people plus have already decided to leave of their own accord. And we've got a purpose-built facility, which is at the expense of some $10 million or so that Australian taxpayers have put into it. And the point that they're trying to make here is that they want to come to Australia. And that's been their stance all along. They've been told by Get Up and the Greens and others messaging from Australia.
Nations too, it seems to be supported.
And you and I have spoken about this before, where the advocates have been messaging over a long period of time that if you leave that centre, you will lose leverage in your bid to come to Australia. And we've been very clear, we'll provide support to people that have been found not to be refugees to go back to their country of origin. I didn't put one person on Manus, but my job is to clean the mess up that I've inherited, and I'm not going to do it in a way that will see boats restart. And I've been very clear about it.
Hey, Peter, I think you're a legend, mate, and I'm not going to vote Liberal for the first time in my life. I'm 44. I have every other election, but I wouldn't touch Malcolm Turnbull with a barge pole. You should have a crack at it, and do not change when you get in there. Even if you lose, stick to your guns, and you know what? You might be surprised. You might just win.
Well, mate, thank you for the wrap. I'll
you can convince him to vote for Malcolm.
Please do, mate.
No, that's a plea.
No way in the world.
The alternative is Bill Shorten, and believe me, I've seen this guy in action. He's not the real deal. I promise you. As Rudd and Gillard did, especially in this area, mate.
But hang on, you're arguing now measles and chickenpox.
Well,
what about convince him to vote for Malcolm Turnbull because he's the right man to be Prime Minister?
And I believe that because I serve in Malcolm's cabinet. As I've said, if I was going to be disloyal, I wouldn't be in his cabinet. And we've got a lot of runs on the board at the moment, mate. It's hard to get much of that clean air up in terms of the achievements that we've got because the difficulty is, we've got citizenship and other issues around. But for me, at the moment, I've got to stand firm because I believe it's in our national interest, and we make tough decisions in this portfolio. But in the end, I don't want to see women and kids drowning at sea, and we've closed 17 detention centres here, and I'm just not going to return to the days that Labor presided over.
Do you agree the citizenship mess, though, is distracting government?
Of course it is. It's distracting, all sorts of debate. And in the news packages of a night time, you want them to be reporting the achievements of the government, what the Prime Minister's achieved or what I've been able to achieve in my portfolio. You don't want it filled with speculation around the citizenship issue. And I think most people want us to move on from that. But, that's the reality of the current debate. We deal with it, we move on, and I hope we can get some good stories up.